The man in the back seat of that black SUV had not been home in 11 years. He had left with nothing but a worn-out suitcase and a dream he could barely hold with both hands. Now he sat in the back of an air-conditioned car, suit pressed, briefcase resting on the seat beside him, watching his city blur past the tinted window. Daniel Mensah had made it, but something outside the window made him go still. Through the crowd of street hawkers and slow-moving vehicles, he saw her, an old woman, bent under the weight of a metal basin balanced on her head, selling sachets of water in the afternoon heat. Her hands moved slowly, reaching up every few seconds to steady the basin. Daniel stared. His throat tightened. He knew those hands. "Stop the car," he said quietly. The driver glanced in the rearview mirror. "Sir, stop the car." 11 years ago, Daniel had left his mother, Mrs. Mensah, standing at the edge of their small compound, waving at the car that would take him to the airport. She had pressed his hands between hers and said, "Go and build something, my son, and come back to us." He had promised her he would. And he had kept that promise, or so he believed. Every month, without fail, Daniel transferred $2,000 to his older sister Rita's account. Every month, Rita called him with updates. "The house is progressing nicely. Mama is well. The builder says 2 more months. Don't worry, Daniel. We are managing." He had asked to speak to his mother once, and Rita said she was resting. Another time, she said the phone signal was poor. He accepted it. He was busy. He was building his life. A successful architectural firm, a reputation, a future carved from 11 years of sacrifice. And he told himself, Mama's taken care of. Rita's handling it. He told himself that every single month, until today. He walked toward her through the noise and the dust. "Mama," he said. The old woman looked up. For a moment she just stared, as though the face in front of her belonged to a dream she had long ago given up on. Then her chin trembled. "Daniel?" she whispered. "Mama." He caught her before her knees could give way. The metal basin clattered to the ground. Sachets of water scattered across the road. He held her there, in the noise and the dust and the staring strangers, and felt something break open inside of him. Her arms were thin, too thin. At the hospital, the doctor spoke quietly. "She is severely dehydrated, mild malnutrition. She needs rest and proper nutrition." Daniel sat beside her and held her hand. "How long?" he asked. The doctor shifted. "Based on her condition, at least 2 years. 2 years. 2 years of standing in the street, in the heat, selling water, while his money, $2,000 every single month, went somewhere else." When she was strong enough to speak, she told him what she knew. "Rita said you got very busy," Mrs. Amma said quietly. "She said you got married, started a new life. She said the money you used to send was now going to your wife's family." Daniel's jaw tightened. "I have no wife, Mama." She looked at him. "She said you stopped sending money 2 years ago." "I never stopped," he said. "Not once, not a single month." His mother was quiet for a long time. "Then where did it go?" she finally asked. He called Rita 6 times. 6 times the call rang out. On the 7th attempt, she picked up and immediately said she was in a meeting and would call him back. She did not call him back. The following morning, he asked his driver to take him to the address where the house was supposed to be built. Rita had sent him photographs over the years. Concrete blocks stacked, a foundation being poured, a gate post rising from the red earth. He had framed one of those photographs and placed it on his office desk in Canada. Mama's house, almost done. He stood at the edge of that land for a long time. The land was there, but there was no house, no concrete, no blocks, no gate posts, only grass, tall and wild, and the sound of wind moving through it. He pulled out one of the photographs Rita had sent him. He stared at it. Then he looked at the empty land. The photographs were not of this plot. They had never been. He did not call Rita again. He did something else. Through a mutual acquaintance, Daniel arranged a business meeting, a potential client looking for an event planner for a corporate function. The client's name, given over the phone, was Mr. Asante. Rita's event planning business had been struggling. She could not afford to say no to a new client. She stopped walking. For a moment, she looked like someone who had just realized there was no way out. Then she straightened herself and walked forward. "Daniel," she said carefully. "Sit down, Rita," he said. She sat. "I found Mama," he said. Rita said nothing. "I found her on the road," he continued, "selling water in the afternoon heat, dehydrated, malnourished, wearing clothes I would not use as a floor rag." Rita's hands folded together on the table. "She has been doing that for at least 2 years, Daniel said. 2 years, while I sent you $24,000. So I'm asking you one question, Rita, and I need the truth." He leaned forward. "Where did the money go?" "Stay with us. Because what she says next will change everything you thought you understood about this story." She did not answer right away. When she finally looked up, her eyes were wet. "Daniel, she started, then stopped, then started again. "Frank lost his job 4 years ago," she said. "He didn't tell me for months. By the time I found out, he had already been borrowing money to cover it." Daniel was very still. "He had a gambling problem," Rita continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know how bad it was until the loan collectors started coming to the house. With threats, Daniel. Not just for Frank, for me. For our children." She pressed her palms flat on the table, steadying herself. "The first time I used your money to pay them off, I told myself it was just once. I would replace it. I would manage. I would fix it." She closed her eyes. "But Frank didn't stop gambling. And the debts didn't stop growing. I kept telling myself I would tell you," she said. "I even typed out a message once and deleted it. I was ashamed. I was afraid. I thought if you knew, you would cut us off completely. I still thought I could fix it." "So you let Mama suffer," Daniel said. His voice was quiet. "That was what made it worse. You let her stand in the street and sell water in the sun and believe that I had forgotten her, while you used her money to cover your husband's gambling debts." "I know," she whispered. "I know, Daniel. I am so sorry." For a long time, he said nothing. He thought about his mother's hands, how thin they had become. He thought about 11 years of faithfully sending money home. He thought about the photograph on his office desk. And then he thought about his sister, who had once saved her lunch money to buy him textbooks when they were children, who had stood beside their mother at the airport that morning and waved until the car disappeared. He thought about what fear could do to a person, what shame could do, what a difficult marriage could slowly take from a woman who had once been strong. "Did Frank know the money was from me?" Daniel asked. Rita hesitated. "Yes." "Did he ask you to take it?" Another pause. "In the beginning he asked. Later he just expected it." "Give me everything," he said. "Every bank statement, every message, every record of where the money went, every threat those collectors made, all of it." Rita looked at him. "We are not hiding this," Daniel said. "Not anymore." Frank Adu was arrested 3 days later. The case was not a small one. Financial fraud, domestic abuse, misappropriation of funds. The loan collectors who had issued threats were investigated alongside him. The evidence Rita provided, phone recordings, transaction records, medical documentation of injuries she had never reported, was enough. Frank Adu was convicted. Rita did not celebrate. She sat alone in a quiet room the evening of the verdict and cried for a long time. Not for Frank, but for the years she had spent being afraid of him. Daniel bought his mother a house. Not a large one, just right. Clean walls, a real kitchen, a bedroom with a window that caught the morning light, a small porch where she could sit in the evenings with a cup of tea. He brought her there on a Saturday afternoon. She walked through each room slowly, touching the walls gently, as if checking that they were real. When she came to the kitchen and stood at the window looking out at the small garden, she was quiet for a long moment. "Daniel," she said softly. "Yes, Mama, this is very beautiful." He enrolled Rita's children in school. He covered the costs quietly, without announcement. He called his mother every evening, not to check a box, not to feel that his responsibility was fulfilled, But because he had learned something in those days in the city, money sent from a distance is not the same as presence. Care transferred through someone else's hands is not the same as care given with your own. He had spent 11 years providing without really being there. That would not be the case anymore. Some months later, Daniel opened a local branch of his architectural practice. He would travel back and forth, Canada and home. But always home. Mrs. Amma no longer sold water by the roadside. She grew tomatoes in her garden. Rita began slowly, carefully, to rediscover who she had been before fear took so much from her. And the family, fractured, scattered, carrying wounds that would take time, began slowly to come back together. Not perfectly. Families rarely do. But genuinely. There is a particular kind of suffering that happens in silence. When a mother refuses to burden her child with her pain. When a sister is too ashamed to admit she is drowning. When a son sends money every month and mistakes it for closeness. The lesson Daniel carried from that city road, from the moment he saw his mother's tired hands reaching up to steady a basin on her head, was not only about betrayal, it was about presence. About showing up not just with your resources, but with yourself. We want to ask you something today. Is there someone in your life, a parent, a sibling, an old friend, whom you have been meaning to call but keep putting off? Someone you assume is fine because no one has told you otherwise? Maybe it is time to check. Not with a transfer, with a conversation. Tell us in the comments, has someone in your life ever been quietly struggling while you assumed they were okay?